Okay, so hi guys. We're gonna go in a little Chiron spiral today, and it may be split into two parts, but for now, let's just go. Okay, it's a lot of slides, but it's not like it's a lot of material. Like you'll get where I'm going. It's like a lot of slides, like it's like 59, but it's not like as much. But anyway, let's get into it because I've been learning a lot, and I've been just so interested, and I've just been wanting to get it together and come talk to you guys about it. And like tomorrow, there'll be a significant date involved, so I was like, Jacayla, you're gonna do it now at the work. So I'm here. All right. So everything in this episode is going to start all about something that happens in 1977. Okay. So on November the 1st, 1977, a man named Charles, Kowal, y'all know be spelling stuff. He was working at the observatory in California, and he found something out past Saturn that just should not have been there. It was something that was a little too far to be an asteroid because asteroids apparently live between Mars and Jupiter. Cool, right? Because that's where they're supposed to be. But this thing, it was way past that. But it was too small and too solid looking to be one of the big outer planets. And it wasn't a moon, and it wasn't behaving like a comet. So they ended up filing this asteroid, and they give it a number 2060, 2060, and they call it Chiron. So then 12 years later, in April of 1989, somebody looks out again and they're like, look, that actually has a comma, a haze coming around it, gas coming off of it, which is what comets do. So now it officially gets a second name, 95P/Chiron. So it's officially, formally in the actual scientific record, both things, right? Isn't that cool? An asteroid and a comet. Not one that ends up getting reclassified, but one that basically gets a second file opened next to the first, and both files are still open. And this is my actual favorite part learning. Okay, so over the 2010s and into the early 2020s, a series of oscillation measurements start showing that this beat up little 218-kilometer object between Saturn and Uranus has rings around it. So it is one of the 4 minor planets we know of with rings, and it is the only comet that has them. Listen, I'm not gonna make that mean something. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you the rings are a metaphor for how we decorate our paints. I definitely wrote that in my journal. Shh. But that is the exact kind of thing, because that I think sometimes make astrology sound stupid, but I'm not doing it, but I did do it. I don't know, I just think you should know that the object we named after the one figure in Greek myth who never fit any category is in the literal astronomical record, a thing that did not fit into any category twice and then literally kind of turned out to be wearing jewelry. Okay, Jacayla's not wrong. Okay, and then tomorrow, August 3rd, 2026, at 4:10 Eastern Time, EST time, Chiron will stop moving forward at 0 degrees and 52 minutes of Taurus. I just love saying that. Sorry, guys. Why do astrologers never read it out loud? Anyway. But it's not going to just any station. This is going to be the tail end of Chiron's first complete lap around the sun since we found it. Okay? I'm just getting a little too excited here. Okay? So this is something that I feel like I have not seen talked about, at least in the astrology streets, okay? But I think it should be the whole headline of this year, okay? Chiron is taking about 50 and a half years to go around the sun. So we found it originally on November 1st, 1977. On that day, Chiron was sitting at 3 degrees, 9 minutes of Taurus. So Chiron came back into Taurus on June 19th of this year, and it makes its first exact pass over 3 degrees, 9 minutes of Taurus on June 9th, 2027, and it's going to be retrograding back over that degree in October 2027, and then it's going to finally clear it for good on April 6th, 2028. Now, if I made your head go like, woo-doo, my head is going there a little bit too. Look at the screen, okay? That's honestly all I'm keeping up. Okay, I have notes. But I want you to think about what that means for a second. Really, every single thing that has ever been written about Chiron, every book, every interpretation, every workshop, every post we've ever read, all of it was produced inside one single orbit. We've never watched this thing complete a cycle, but we're about to for the first time. And we're all going to be here for it. Lord willing. I'm a Black woman, okay? I can't help but say it. Lord willing, okay? That's what we say. So if this year maybe has felt like a lot of things you thought you settled about yourself are coming back to be looked at again, Jacayla, your own self-worth, not being attracted to men who are not good for you or people in general is coming, okay? It's coming back to be looked again at a different angle by a version of you that actually knows something now, okay? Okay, we can't be gaslit again, okay? Maybe we could, but we'd ourselves out of it sooner, okay? But maybe we can be looking at ourselves again at a different angle by a version of us that actually knows something now that's not just you. That is the whole object doing that, which is what brings me to today. Okay, let's talk about it. So Chiron, and just stay with me. Even if you're just confused, just let me go through some of the mumbo jumbo, okay? But we're going to get to some stuff where I think you're going to feel what I'm saying. But around part 3, if you want to skip the part 3, go do it. All right. I'd rather skip the part 3 before you cutting me off. Okay. And like, comment, and subscribe because I never say that shit or stuff. Whatever. Okay. So Chiron stations retrograde today or tomorrow, August 3rd at 4:10. My day's over. Like I work tomorrow. Like my day's over. I'm done working. You know what I mean? But tomorrow it's going to be station retrograde at 4:10 Eastern time at 0 degrees 52 minutes of Taurus. So it's going to be a 52 minutes of an arc, which is less than 1 degree in, basically. So Chiron, it entered Taurus on June 19th of this year. It took about 6 weeks of very slow steps, and now it's turning around. And because it's so slow, the backing up takes about 5 months. So this is the actual timeline. I'm just going to look through it, okay? Today, August 3rd, tomorrow, August 3rd, 4:10 p.m., Chiron turns retrograde at 0 degrees 52 minutes Taurus. September 17th, 9:50 p.m., Chiron backs out of Taurus entirely and returns to Aries. January 6th, 2027, 6 a.m., Chiron stations direct at 26 degrees and 16 minutes of Aries. And then April 14th, 2027, 10:58 a.m., Chiron re-enters Taurus, and this time it stays. So the total distance that is traveled backward over 5 months is 4 degrees and 36 minutes. 4 degrees and 36 minutes in 5 months. That's the whole move. If you were watching the sky, you would literally not see a thing. And that is the correct scale for how this feels, too. I'm not gonna lie, okay? Because Chiron stations are not events. Nothing happens to you at 4:10 tomorrow afternoon. Or on August 3rd, okay? What happens is that a thing you've been managing quietly stops being manageable quietly. It moves from the background to the foreground, and it does that over weeks, not minutes. But the sign situation is worth understanding, I think, because it's very, very specific, okay? So Chiron has been in Aries since February of 2019, 8 years and 2 months. That is one of the longest sign passages Chiron makes. And I'm going to explain why in a minute because I learned. So going back to Aries, Aries is the beginning of the lap, the light coming back, the first assertion. In the language of the solar cycle, Aries is the moment the ground cracks and something pushes up through it, whether conditions are ideal or not. It's basically the raw fact of wanting. Then Taurus comes right after. The ground is warm enough now. Things can settle. The part of the year where growth stops being like an act of will and starts becoming an act of staying, if you get what I mean. It's what is actually yours, your body, your resources, the things that ain't a performance. Like my bestie, she love food. She done love food since day A. Food, like, the food, she has a whole nother facial expression when she talks about food. I'm not kidding. So I don't know how she does it, but her face literally does like the same, like it wrinkles in one spot and like indents down like a little bit, like another, and it is like the same exact facial expression whenever you mention food. That is what Taurus is, okay? That desire, it is not a performance because it's what's in your belly. You know what I'm trying to say? Okay. So Chiron just barely stepped into Taurus. You gotta look at it. And it's going back. Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm like, oh my gosh. I always do this. Okay. There we go. Because I just I wanted to know where I was. Because I'm gonna tell her I talked about her food. Like her love for food. So I went to mark. I mean, should not just put, because I put the time, even though it's going to be off, because I put it anyway. Sorry, I'm digressing. So Chiron just barely stepped into Taurus. You got to look at it, and it's going back. So the message of this 5-month stretch, I would say, and if you want to put it in one sentence, is that you can't build a settled sense of what is yours on top of an unfinished question about whether you're allowed to want anything in the first place. It's more of a personal question for myself, but I'm gonna apply it to you guys too. Okay, next slide. But let's talk about, I'm no longer calling the wound. Okay, I'm done with that phrase for it. Okay, because I do want to talk about how Chiron gets discussed, because I do have a little bit of problem with it. I have even called it the wounded healer. And I think the way that phrase gets used in practice is that Chiron becomes the part of the chart where you're allowed to be permanently damaged and call it spiritual. I said that. And I hate the thing that makes my slides, because I said that and it didn't even put it in the nice words for me. Like I thought it was going to do a little program. Instead it put it exactly the way I wrote it. Because I did say that. I said I feel like Chiron is a little bit of part of your chart where you're allowed to be permanently damaged, but instead you want to call it spiritual. That goes for Tequila as well. I'm not going to talk about exactly why, where, it's not for me, okay? But anyway, this is my objection, okay, when I really think about it. Because every planet has pain in it. Every single one. Mars, it hurt. Saturn, oh, she definitely hurt. I can't stand Saturn. The moon, she hurts constantly. Venus, child, she could break you if you want to. If Chiron's only claim is that it hurts, to me, it's really not saying nothing that the rest of the chart isn't already saying. So here's how I kind of really want to read it. Chiron marks the place where you know too much. Not a wound, an awareness that does not switch off. It is a spot in your chart where you have information that, child, you got the expensive way. You learned something about how a particular area of life actually works, and you learned it earlier and more thoroughly than the people around you did, and now you cannot unknow it. And because you cannot unknow it, you cannot just casually participate in that area the way other people seem to. So everybody else walks in the room, but you're about to walk in the room already reading it. That is how I see Chiron these days. And if you want a physical image for it, I got one. Because it's not a wound. Because I think a wound is either open or closed. And this is neither. It is more like a bone that is healed at a slightly different angle than the manual says. Where nothing's broken, because that's the point. It's set. It works. It carries weight. You use it every day. But the angle is different than everybody else's. And on certain days, you can feel the weather in it before anyone else can. And that's not damage. That is a piece of equipment that reads conditions other people cannot detect. See, the reason why I think it gets called the healer, though, is not because you heal it. You don't need to heal it. The reason it gets called the healer is that the sensitivity is the expertise. People come to you about this thing. They've always come to you about this thing. You are the one who can feel the weather. The work of Chiron, I don't think is closing the sore spot. I think the work is deciding whether the sore spot gets the drive. And I just feel that personally, because I know I have been letting my sore spot drive. Vroom, vroom, bae. Vroom, vroom, okay? But I want to answer this question directly in the episode, because if all the planets have pain, what kind is this one? You know? Because I see Mars pain is present tense, sorry. Like the pain of collision. You went at something, it went back at you, and child, it hurt. It hurts while it's happening, and then it is over, and you have a bruise and a story, because Mars pain is loud, and is short, and it's not about to follow you home. Now, Saturn's pain, I think I see it as structural, and I think this is a very important comparison, because Saturn is the planet that I think Chiron gets the most confused with, and I'm just speaking from personal experience, because Saturn's pain is the pain of a real limit. It's like, not enough time, money, skill, not enough standing. Saturn, it hurts by being immovable, and it always pays out late. I think that's the thing that I think people miss about Saturn, because Saturn's pain, it kind of has a schedule. It responds to time and it responds to work. Saturn would be like, you are not ready yet, and yet is the whole word. You got to do the reps, put in the years, get if you investing, you gotta put more time. Okay, I don't know. I should invest, but the pressure, it will genuinely lift once you put in the reps, once you put in the years, once you put in the money. Saturn will pay out late and grudgingly, and never as much as you want it, because fees gonna be taking out a whole bunch of extra, but it pays. However, Chiron does not have a schedule. That's the difference. And it is the entire difference. Chiron don't be responding to time, and it doesn't respond to competence. We wish you can be extremely good in a Chiron area and still feel probably, you know what, the exact same thing you would feel when you was 15. Like the exact same thing. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I be getting to talking, not just be catching the vibe, I guess. But yeah, Saturn, I don't know, like that is the difference. Chiron doesn't care about time and it doesn't care about competence. You can be so good at something in the Chiron area and still feel exactly the same thing you felt at 15. It's not a skills gap. Getting better at it doesn't touch it. Saturn will still be like, you ain't earned this yet. Chiron says everybody got issued something standard here, and you didn't. You just did not. But you built this whole functional life around the missing piece. And that's just how life works. And it still doesn't feel like it belongs to you. That's why Saturn work is a project and Chiron work is a practice, because one of them finishes. And then the healing, because that is the other half of the question. I had to sit myself with both, okay? The moon, it heals by comfort. It heals by soothing the thing, feeding it, putting it somewhere until it's safe, until it settles. That's real and it works and it's temporary by design. You know, the moon, it changes every 2.5 days. Now Mercury, it heals by naming. I had to really think about that. And these are my personal feels, by the way. Okay. I don't know how to say it. A lot of this stuff comes from this is the way I teach astrology here is just it's such a very personal way. Way more personal than people realize. My Mercury's in Aquarius, and I relate to my Mercury being in Aquarius because a lot of times I feel like that is where I come to life, in a sense, is because with Aquarius, I'm able to be a lot more detached and separate myself from the pain I feel like my Pisces sun and moon will sit in a lot of the times. And then the Virgo rising will analyze that pain that the Pisces sun and moon is feeling. And my Mercury's in Aquarius, so that sometimes is my saving grace. That sometimes is the only placement that I get to really step outside of myself and just detach from it a little bit. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is personal. That's why I said heal by naming, because that placement being there for me makes me it's healed by naming, you know what I'm saying? But going back to what I was saying, Mercury heals by naming. It heals by getting language around the thing, describing it accurately, turning a feeling into a sentence so you can hold it at arm's length and look at it. That's not Aquarius, but also real. It also works, okay? And Chiron heals by neither. You can't soothe it because it's not agitated. It's just informed. And you can't name your way out of it because most people with a strong Chiron can already describe their thing in devastating detail and it has never once helped. But what Chiron actually does respond to is use. Because the sore spot, it changes when you point it at something. When the thing you know too much about becomes the thing you are careful about on someone else's behalf. Not performing recovery, not making it your personality, just putting your sensitivity to work. And I think that's it. I think that's the whole mechanism. It does not close, it gets employed. Now let's talk about the age it freezes at, because there's something adolescent about Chiron. And I want to be precise about what I mean, because kink angst, I don't think is a serious enough way to name it. I'm about to have my daughter's in her preteens child. So I've been thinking a lot about this age as well. But let's think about what the actual position of a teenager is. You're old enough to see the rules clearly, right? You can see who benefits from them. You can see the adults not following their own stated rules. Your read on the situation as a teenager, I think, is frequently correct and often sharper than the adult's reads because you're not yet invested in the arrangement. So you really don't have a reason to defend it. But yet, you have no standing. None. You can be completely right, and it don't matter because nobody is required to take you seriously. So that combination, accurate perception plus zero authority, I think is the most specific thing about being that age. And that is exactly the position that Chiron described. Because Chiron in your chart is the area where you figured something out before you were allowed to do anything about it. That's why it doesn't respond to competence later, because you're not missing information. You had the information. You've had it the whole time. What you were missing was anyone with power agreeing that your read was legitimate, right? Because then by the time you get standing, you already have built the workaround, if you're smart. And Typically, the workaround, I think, becomes the personality. So the frustration in the Chiron placement is not some leftover injury. It is unresolved accuracy. You were right. Nobody signed off on it. And yet you're still there carrying the unsigned copy, which means the assignment for y'all is not to just get over it. For us, the assignment is to be the adult who signs off on it, to go back and to take that read seriously on purpose as the person who now actually does have standing. And I want to say the harder half of this too, because I think when you spend your adult life performing exactly the kind of adult your younger self could see straight through, you're going to rerun the whole thing from the other side, and you're going to become the person who does not take the accurate read seriously because it's inconvenient, because there's a schedule, because that's what grown people do, right? And that's how Chiron placement goes from a sensitivity to a loop. So, I'm so sorry. I always forget. I get so into what I'm talking about. And then I just don't move the slides. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's how I feel. But part 6, okay? Let's talk about something else, okay? Because we have some more things to talk about. And I'm glad that I think that we're going to be able to get this good and done right here, okay? So we're going to get back to another technical section, and then I'm going to get to all the placements, okay? So stay with me. This one is genuinely useful, and I don't really think I find people talking about it. So I think I found a little hot secret topic over here, Okay, Chiron's orbit is extremely eccentric. It's not a circle. At its closest, it comes just inside Saturn's orbit, and at its furthest, it goes out towards Uranus. When it is close in, it moves fast. When it's far out, it crawls. What that means practically is that Chiron does not spend the same amount of time in each sign, not even close. Chiron actually, let me see what's that on this chart. Yeah, okay, here it is. So it spent about roughly 8 years in Aries and about a year and 4 months in Libra, sometimes under 2 years in Virgo. So 8 years versus 16 months in the same object. What? But this is why it actually matters for you guys, okay? Because if you have Chiron in Aries, Pisces, or Taurus, you share that placement with an enormous number of people born across almost a decade. Is close to a generational marker. It describes something about the era you came up in as much as it describes you. I think that makes sense. If you have Chiron in Libra or Virgo, you belong more to a narrow band, a window of about maybe a year, maybe 2, way fewer people, and it reads much more personally, and it tends to hit harder and more specifically when you find it. And listen, neither are better, but I think it changes how you should hold the interpretation, because I think a wide placement is a room you share more of a crowd with, but a narrow one is a lot closer to a fingerprint. And for the record, the run that is ending right now is one of the long ones, because Chiron has been in Aries since February 2019, and it's not going to settle into Taurus until April 2027, 8 years. Anybody born in that stretch has Chiron and Aries, and the whole rest of us have been living underneath it, basically. So let's talk about where yours is, okay? 12 placements. There's going to be just not long talking about it. If you don't, you know yours, go pull yourself a little birth chart up anywhere, child. You can get it on your phone. You can get it on the internet. Okay, I think that's it. I think your phone or the internet on the phone, either way, that's where you can go to find your boo, okay? So I'm going to give you each one the same shape, what the sign is in the solar cycle, what knowing too much about it does to you, and kind of the practices. We're going to just run through these a little bit, okay? So Chiron and Aries. Aries is the light coming back and something pushing up through cold ground because it has to. It is the unnegotiated fact of wanting. Chiron here means you learned early that your wanting was a problem, too loud, too much, too selfish, inconvenient. So you probably got very sophisticated at wanting quietly, or at wanting nothing, or at wanting only what you can justify to somebody else first, because the practice is letting a want exist before it even has a reason. If you get what I'm saying, you're allowed to want it because you want it. That's the entire argument. And I don't think you owe anybody a better one. So, yeah, Taurus. Taurus is the ground that's warm enough to hold what it grows. It's the steadiness, the body, enough. Chiron here means you learned early that there might not be enough, or that you're not the one it was for. So you're excellent at going without and secretly convinced that everything good you have is on loan. That's probably how it feels to you. So this one shows up in money and it shows up in rest. The practice, however, is defining what comfort means to you specifically apart from what it costs and then taking it back without a reason. Not earning it, taking it. Nobody's going to hand it to you, and nobody's going to come to check to see if you even deserve it, just to let you know. If you have your Chiron in Gemini, it's like kind of everything leafing out at once, right? More information than anybody can process. Chiron here, it typically means that somebody set a standard for how a mind was supposed to work, and yours may have been measured against it and came back wrong. Too much, not enough, too scattered, too quick, the wrong kind of smart. So the practice, I think, is running your own school. Learn things badly on purpose. Who cares? Ask the dumb questions out loud in front of people. Because your mind was never broken. It was being graded on a Rubik built for somebody else, my love. Chiron in Cancer. Cancer is a solstice, maximum light, and the exact moment it starts going the other way. It's the home and the beginning of leaving it. Chiron here, it means that the place you came from did not quite have a spot shape like you. Maybe nothing dramatic. Maybe just a persistent, like this low-grade mismatch. So you built your belonging as an achievement, something you earned by being useful or good or needed. The practice is going back, though. Not to fix nobody. Don't be trying to fix nobody. Don't save nobody. Save yourself. But to see clearly, you can save people too. Especially if it's your job. That's your job. Please save people. Save me if I need it. Call me. Or anyway. But to see clearly what the arrangement actually was, you're allowed to be somewhere without having to be useful there, by the way, my loves. So Chiron and Leo. Leo is peak heat while the light's already leaving. This is our full output ending underneath it. Chiron here, it can mean that you were told in one way or another that wanting to be seen was embarrassing. So you learned to shrink it or to only take up space when there's a job attached. Now, attachment or attention can feel like a bill coming due. Somebody's going to look and then keep looking, and then they're going to find out you're ordinary. So the practice is being seen for something small and unimpressive, not the achievement. Just you. On a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Build tolerance for being looked at when nothing is on the line. Chiron and Virgo, that's mine. Virgo is in harvest, sorting, deciding what gets kept and what gets thrown out. All y'all. I'm just kidding. Chiron here means you learned early that there was a correct way to do things. And you're consistently being measured against it constantly. So you got precise, but that precision can become a cage. You cannot start things because starting them means being bad at them in public. I'm like, oh my gosh, like no one ever watches any of my shit, but I'm going to keep going at it. But then I'm like a little nervous. And sometimes I even send my friend the link to the YouTube because she's going to be like, there's no one listening to you. But like you just keep going. Okay. And like, fail. I don't care. I'm gonna no one wants to listen to this. That's fine. I sat right here and talked about Chiron, and I am rocking my socks off. I actually don't even have my socks on, but I'm rocking my socks off talking about Chiron, and I'm having fun right here, right now, just having a Chiron spiral, blah, 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 and blah, 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 right there. See? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me stop. So I think the practice, though, is failing on purpose, small and often, because failure is not a verdict on us, okay? It's what learning looks like from the outside. And nobody has ever known the whole correct way. They guessing too. They just probably a little bit loud about it. Anyway, moving on. Chiron and Libra. Chiron. So Libra's the equinox, day and night, exactly equal. This is the whole sign that is about what happened between two things. Chiron being here means you grew up being compared. And you learned to read the room so well, you lost track of where you end. You know what everybody in the group needs, and you cannot always tell what you need. This one is worth looking at, I think, with clear eyes, because a lot of it's not personal. It's probably class, race, gender, who got treated as the default. And I think the practice is to have a preference in front of another person and not immediately soften it into a question. That's actually good for all Libra placements. Chiron and Scorpio. So Scorpio is the collapse of the light. This is the die-off, what is underneath after the surface goes. Chiron being here means you learned early that having power was dangerous, or that watching somebody else use theirs badly was worse. So you may have decided that the safe move is to just have none. And you may keep yourself small, and you may build the wall so high and call it humility. But I think the practice is naming one thing that you're actually able to do in the world and building the capacity to do it. Because Power you've chosen a use for is not the same animal as power for its own sake. And pretending you have none has probably never once protected you. Has it? I'll wait. Moving on. Chiron in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is the dark stretch before the solstice. This is where you need a reason to keep going, and the reason has to come from inside, right? Because the conditions are not providing one. So Chiron here can typically mean that somebody clicked your little curiosity, my love, probably told you be realistic, be responsible, stop asking. So maybe you either stop believing anything or you attach hard to a belief that was handed to you. And the practice here is building your own out loud, child, badly if it need to be, over time. Because you're allowed to have a working philosophy that you assembled yourself. If you didn't know that, just let you know. It doesn't have to hold up in an argument. It has to hold you up on a Wednesday. And you know what's so weird? I was like reading, talking about this placement, right? And then I was like, let me go read my brother's first chart real quick, because I feel like he's kind of my brother. And his is in Sagittarius. Shamar, I'm talking to you. Maybe somebody clipped your little curiosity. Not little, because my brother got a big curiosity. He is imaginative, and I love him. And okay, I have told him to stop accent. Like, I ain't got it. I love you, but I'm broke as you. Not true. But, I love my brother. And he better never stop believing in anything, because he is someone who has strong beliefs. And I love him. And I love whatever he wants to believe. If it make my brother heart happy, and he's safe, and he home, and he's doing so good. My brother, we've had some problems. Not me and him necessarily, but just like he's had some problems in life, in the world. Like, as all people do. And he's home, and I love him. And I love you. If you ever hear this, Shamar, I love you so much. Anyway, I don't know how to say people's name, but like, if you know who I am, it's not hard to find out who my baby brother is. So anyway, I digress. Chiron and Capricorn. We're almost done with the signs. So Capricorn is the winter solstice. This is the hardest conditions of the year and the exact moment the light turns around. This is your structure, your endurance, your long game. Sorry, guys. I just did it again. I just realized I probably was like one toe. Even though I guess I could just look at the slide to know when I mentioned Shamar, because I'll just like let them know that I talked about him. But like I said, Capricorn is the winter solstice. This is the hardest condition of the year. This is the exact moment the light turned around. This is structure, endurance, the long game. Chiron here, it almost always means that you grew up early, that you took on weight that was not sized for you, and you got competent way ahead of schedule, and everybody praised you for it, and nobody even asked if you were okay. So you probably are someone who now carries everything by default. But the practice is being mentored, being the one who doesn't know. Find somebody further along and let them tell you things. Because you've been the adult in the room since you were probably 9. And it's not actually your shift, so sit down. Just kidding. You don't have to sit down. But if you want to, you can. All right. Chiron and Aquarius. Aquarius is deep cold. This is the part of the year that you get through in a group or you do not get through. Because Chiron here means you were the odd one and everybody knew it. Sometimes beloved for it, sometimes not. Usually both in the same week. The risk is that being the outsider became the identity, and now you probably position yourself outside on purpose so that nobody can put you there first. The practice, however, is to let yourself be included in something ordinary without narrating your distance from it, okay? Because the thing that made you strange is not rare, you little weirdos. It's not. It may be common and unspoken, and the reason people tell you things, you already know, okay? This is my thoughts. Chiron and Pisces, the end of the lap, all right? The thaw, the dissolve, the edges going soft. Chiron, I forgot about the rap. The thaw, the dissolve, the edges going soft. Chiron here means you learn early things cannot be fixed. Okay, I'm stopping. I'm gonna completely stop. I should probably go to bed. But Chiron here means you learned early that some things cannot be fixed, and you learned it before you had the capacity to hold that information. So hopelessness probably became a tool. If you expect nothing, you can't be blindsided. And that can quietly turn into over-investing in things that never going to work, because a lost cause can confirm the thesis. So the practice is finishing something small that you know you're going to succeed. Not a symbol, but an actual completed thing. Your capability is the piece of evidence that you've probably been avoiding collecting. So what do we actually do with this? Because the next 5 months until January the 6th are for one thing. It's not fixing it. It's locating it. So I got a prompt, and if you want to do it, I think you should do it and do it in one sitting. Okay? That's my challenge to you. So I hate the way I wrote this because I wrote this to myself and then I wrote it like one day I'll upload like my actual journal pages maybe because I have some personal stuff in there that I don't think I want everybody to see. But I wrote that down to myself. I said, at your big age, what's something you're still annoyed about? And I have my journal pages like in different formats, but I wrote this. I said, what's something at your big old age you still annoyed about, child, to myself? But write that down. Not the trauma just think about it. Not the trauma, the annoyance, the petty one, the thing that still gets you, that maybe you privately decided is too small to be getting you. That is where it is. Because Chiron's not about to hide in the big obvious stuff. He's going to hide in the stuff that you're embarrassed about to still care about. Okay? Ooh, sorry. I'm so sorry. And when I get over mines, I'll tell you what it is. When I get over mines, I'll tell you what it is. That feels so wrong of me, but I'm not telling you right now. I'm gonna tell my friend when I go see her. See, that's what like most of us should be doing. Is sometimes instead of like talking to the social media, we should be going to find a friend. Find a friend. Tell your friend. Or find a diary. One of the YouTubers I like to watch, Brutal Honesty, I think is her name. She be so funny, so funny. I forgot what I was about to say that she said. Sorry, that was a side note. Okay. I'll remember one day. She said something. I forgot where I was going with that. But she always says that the journal factory, because she basically like I think like comments like on like the like viral TikTok stories like I dated a Danish scammer or people like that, content creators like that are the only way I can ever like watch or like take in some of that stuff. But I digress. So write down the thing you're still at your big age annoyed about, and then write the sentence or think the sentence, I was right about that. Because you probably were. That is the part that never got signed off. And then one line, and be honest, find out where in your life are you currently an adult who would not have taken you seriously. One, not a list. Because a list is how you avoid the answer. And again, this is what I wrote to my damn self. I wrote, don't you put a list, because a list is how you avoid the answer, Kayla. But do that, and then leave it. Don't solve it this week, because this is literally a 5-month window and a 50-year orbit. You're not behind. Leave it. You're not behind. So, what's coming up? Everything you need to know about the rest of the passage and dates. We're going to talk about right here, okay? September 17th, 2026, 9:50 p.m. Chiron's going to back out of Taurus and return to Aries. This is the one to actually watch because whatever was live for you in the last stretch of Chiron and Aries, roughly 2024. I need to look back at it's going to get a second pass. January 6th, 2027, 6 a.m. Chiron's going to station direct at 26 degrees, 16 minutes of Aries. The 5 months is going to end there. Then we have April 14th, 2027, 10:58 a.m. Chiron's going to enter Taurus for good. It's going to stay about 7 years. And June 9th, 2027, Chiron is going to reach 3 degrees, 9 minutes of Taurus. And that degree, it was sitting on the night we found it. The first complete orbit since discovery. Bum, 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 bum. That's why we still, that's why we doing all this. That's why it's kind of exciting, isn't it? It's going to clear the degree for the last time on April 6, 2028. And closer to home, 10 days from now, on August the 12th, there is a total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo. Now, that is a different story. I've already recorded that episode, actually. But I want to say this much about the overlap, though, is that Chiron turning around today is like want to know and asking what you are allowed to want. Because the eclipse next week is going to be asking, what are you willing to stop performing? And those are the same questions, right? From two directions. Am I right? They are. So this is where I'm going to leave you. We're closing. We're done. Okay. We found this thing in 1977 and we called it after the one figure in the myths who did not have a category. Not a god, not quite, not a monster, not a man. The only one of his kind teaching other people's children. And the object itself turns out to be uncategorizable in the actual data. Asteroid and comet. 2 files, both open, neither one closed in almost 50 years. I think that's the most useful thing about it. Because I don't think your Chiron, I think it's not the part of you that's broken and waiting to be like repaired. I think it's the part of you that never got filed correctly. The part where you saw something true early and nobody with authority agreed. And you built a whole functioning life around that gap. The bone set at a different angle. It carries weight. It works. And you can feel the weather in it. because you're not supposed to close it. You're supposed to use it. And on August 3rd, Chiron turned around and started walking back towards the question that we have until January. So, you know what? Go be right about it on purpose. If you want to work with this the way I do, the free seasonal guide is at cosmicallycreated.com. It breaks down how to read the solar cycle in your own life month by month. It's free. It's yours. Go get it. I got a whole resource library. I've been adding stuff in there like crazy, and I'm gonna keep adding stuff in there like crazy. If you want to go deeper on a season, the seasonal blueprint is your birth chart read as seasonal architecture, not predictions. It's a map of which parts of the year you're built for and which parts you have to work with on purpose. And yep, your Chiron is up in there, okay? That, and also I have sticker bundles at cosmicallycreated.com. So you know what? Thank you for spending this with me, like this time with me. If you've been here with me, if you've been having fun with this Chiron spiral with me, it is what it is. I think I've said a lot of kooky stuff in here, but you know what? I've enjoyed talking about it, and I hope you enjoyed talking about it with me as well. If you wouldn't mind liking, comment, subscribing, like if you're listening to on a different platform, if you wouldn't mind going to my YouTube, it's actually under my own name, which I think I should probably work on the branding stuff. But you know what? I'm just being feral with it, to be honest with you. This is what feral, Pisces sun, Virgo rising, Pisces moon, Aquarius, Mercury. This is how we go feral, okay? We go feral with just having fun talking about astrology and just recording podcast episodes and sitting in my room and talking about this stuff, okay? So, all right, I'm gonna go see a friend. Goodbye.